This is the Ohio AgNet from the voice you know at the News You Trust studio, sponsored by BASF and Veltima Fungicide, the proven #1 for the toughest corn diseases with long-lasting residual. When you need to be confident your fungicide will perform. I'm Ty Higgins. Did you know that June is National Dairy Month? Celebrate with the American Dairy Association Mideast and learn more at drink-milk.com. We're hitting the road tomorrow, stopping at Mikey's Family Restaurant in West Union for the Ohio's Country Journal's Coffee Shop Stop contest. We'll show up at 6 o'clock, and the first 25 folks through the door get a free cup of coffee, a limited edition Ohio's Country Journal mug, and the latest issue of OCJ, all on us. Hope to see you there. As the 2026 crop gets established across Ohio, many growers have their fertility plans in place, but the season is far from predictable. Weather stress, compaction, disease pressures, and other in-season challenges can impact how well crops actually take up nutrients, and those issues may not show up in a spring soil test. Joining us, Ryan Harbison, an agronomist with AgriLiquid, to discuss how tissue sampling can help farmers better understand crop health during the growing season. Ryan, for growers who may not use tissue sampling regularly, what exactly can that sampling tell us that a soil test can't?
So tissue testing, simply at its core, right, is we're going out and pulling specific areas of the plant and submitting in to see what our nutrient balances and levels are in the crop at that time. So it's kind of a snapshot, right? It's not predictive. It can be more reactive, but it's what's happening in that crop at the time that we pull that tissue sample. And I think the biggest thing to look at with some of that is what management strategy are they looking to do, right? Are we looking to solve a problem in the field? Have we saw deficiency signs that we need to try to figure out what's going on? Is this part of an overall strategy to look at how we're going to apply our fertility throughout the growing season, or just how the crop's doing based on what observations we've seen in the field, right? And so there's a lot of different ways to kind of use this tool.
I mentioned the stresses like drought, compaction, disease impacting nutrient uptake. How do those stresses show up in tissue samples?
So a lot of time in that tissue sample, you're going to see different nutrient loads, right? And so you may see an imbalance of nutrients inside that sample. And a lot of times you get the sample and then you have to go back out to the field and kind of ground truth what's actually causing that issue, right? Because at the base of it, it's really going to show what nutrients are available in the plant at that time, or what's in the plant at that time.
As always in agriculture, timing is everything. Is there an ideal time during the growing season for farmers to pull these tissue samples in crops like corn and soybeans?
I think that comes back to management strategy, right? What are we trying to accomplish with the tissue test? If you're doing it based off of trying to figure out what deficiencies out there, I would say the first sign of deficiency that you're seeing or something that concerns you in the field, the earlier the better, to maybe we can manage out in front of it. If you're using it more as a full-scale management program, we kind of want to hit those key uptake periods, right? So that V5 to V6 timing before we have that big jump in corn, right? Early trifoliate stages in beans before we really jump and start putting on a lot more nodes and trifoliates. After you kind of get past that, looking after those big growth stages, so that early R stages in your beans, pre-tassel in your corn, even into the later season stuff with corn, you can go that as well to try to make a late season pass with a fungicide or something in that area.
My entire conversation with Ryan Harbison of AgriLiquid is online now, the featured audio at ohioagnet.com. Let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work. Here's Dusty Sonnenberg.
I'm joined today by Taylor Dill. Taylor is Director of Research at the Ohio Soybean Council. Taylor, soybean cyst nematode, the largest yield robber of soybeans across the country. We also talk about sampling for SCN.
Now is a perfect time to pull samples right around planting time. You can also do it in the fall, but when you're pulling samples, you can pull them for fertility, and you can keep some back as well. And when you're pulling those, you'd pull them very similar to your fertility samples. You want to do a random zigzag pattern in your field, and 6 to 8 inch core. That's usually where your SCN lives. And also an important part to make sure that they're measured right in the lab is to make sure they're cooled. So you don't want them to be sitting hot, and you want to mail them pretty quickly so you can get an accurate estimation of what's actually going on in your field.
Thanks to the Soybean Checkoff, those tests, 2 samples per farm, are free every year for soybean farmers to submit to Ohio State. It's paid for by your checkoff dollars for up to 2 samples, and you can get those numbers and make better management decisions.
Absolutely.
Again, my guest today, Dr. Taylor Dill. She is Director of Research at the Ohio Soybean Council. And this update brought to us by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
Thank you, Dusty. Let's check the forecast now with Ryan Martin, brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com.
After the lingering moisture of yesterday, we're finally seeing skies clear. They started to clear after midnight, and we'll continue to see good sunshine through the day today. This kicks off a pattern that is going to be dry for a little bit. As a matter of fact, I do not see any significant moisture coming into Ohio until we get into next Thursday night, close to midnight, Thursday night the 4th through Friday the 5th. We have a little bit of moisture coming through, anywhere from a tenth to 3/4 of an inch, coverage around 75% of the Buckeye State. We follow that up with a dry Friday afternoon, a dry Saturday the 6th, dry Sunday the 7th, and dry Monday the 8th. Next front then it hits the 9th into the 10th. So overall, 2 rounds of moisture over the next 10 to 14 days. That is it. Definitely seeing net drying here across the region. Temperatures warm, but not overly hot. We will be getting more humid, though. I'm meteorologist Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. Fractional ownership is opening the doors to harness racing. With that, here's Allison Kenny.
The gate car rolls away and hoofs thunder down the track. Horses and their drivers weave in and out of traffic, battling for position in a fast-paced, tightly contested race. Carts draw closer, drivers make split-second decisions, and the grandstanding erupts as bettors watch their picks charge towards the finish line. There are few things as exciting as a harness race. For many fans, the thrill begins and ends at the racetrack. However, through fractional ownership opportunities, race enthusiasts have the chance to experience the sport on a deeper level, not just as spectators, but as owners with a stake in a horse racing down the track. Jessica Schroeder is the owner of Horseplay Racing Stable, a fractional ownership group with 5 horses. Through the program, individuals can purchase a percentage of a racehorse, allowing them to enjoy the excitement of ownership without taking on the full cost and responsibility of doing it alone. Schroeder said the concept helps open the door to people who love racing and horses, but may not have considered ownership possible. Shares start as low as 1%, with expenses and any earnings divided according to each owner's stake. To learn more about fractional ownership, this entire article can be found at OCJ.com. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Allison Kinney reporting.
Thank you, Allison. The Ohio AgNet continues after this.
Hi, I'm Tyler Miller, a soybean farmer from Crawford County. When I grow soybeans, I'm not just raising a crop, I'm creating fuel at home. Biodiesel adds nearly $2 to our bushel price and strengthens our energy independence. If you're not using biodiesel on your farm, now's the time. If you're not sure how to get it, ask your local fuel supplier. Ready to turn last year's crop into this year's fuel? Learn more at soyohio.org.
This message is brought to you by Ohio soybean farmers and their checkoff.
Be aware, ticks are there. As you head outdoors, remember to avoid tall grass, wear light-colored full-coverage clothing, and use EPA-registered repellent. Be sure to thoroughly check for ticks after you head in for the day. If you find any ticks, remove them carefully with tweezers and watch for symptoms such as fever, headache, or rash. For more information on ticks and tick bite prevention, head over to ohio.gov/ticks.
Welcome back on the Ohio AgNet. I'm Joe Everett. I'm visiting with Matt McCall with the Andersons. He's a senior origination merchant there. And Matt, I know the weather's not very positive right now, and we're getting tired of all this rain, but what's kind of the mood of grain farmers and the markets right now and how they feel about them?
Thanks for having me on, Joe. I would say those guys are feeling, we had a really good shot at planting there middle of April in our area, let's say Southwest Ohio into Indiana. And after that 10 or 11 days, we have turned pretty wet here. We're probably 10th, 15th wettest on record in the last 130 years for wetness in that, end of April to end of May time period right now. So I think that's weighing on some guys. We've had folks that planted early, got frosted, had to do some replants in the bean world and stuff like that. So it's been a normal spring, it feels like. But most guys, of course, are, still active, trying to figure out ways to market old crop corn and to, where to get started in new crop and moving forward from there.
As we move out of May and into June, do you feel like farmers are still holding a lot of grain on farm, or do you feel more have shake loose with the current markets? And where do you feel we are this year compared to years prior?
Southwest Ohio marketplace, which is a very, ethanol or end user centric area, basis has been pretty attractive. I think corn has moved a lot more. It feels like here in the last few months, with that cash price hitting anywhere from $4.95 to $5.15, kind of just depending on where you're at, and tributary to good basis and stuff. So feels like a lot of guys were active during that time period to get stuff on the books for that April, May, June, July time period. I can say that for our marketplace, basis is tracking at the exact same place as it was last year, except up until about the last 2 to 3 days here, futures are about 20 cents higher than they were this time last year.
Now, as we move closer to summer, what are some opportunities maybe producers should be watching for as we move into more of the summer months?
Of course, normally we will run into our normal weather markets that we deal with, right? Large reports of a major El Nino event for us this year, which could turn this water spigot off at any time. I think that anybody knows a weather market is chances for volatility, and volatility brings chances for upside. I think that's one thing to look at. And of course, I'm sure everyone sees the headlines and the kind of the macro picture, the bigger picture that's way outside of our control is turmoil in the geopolitics around the world, which definitely caused a lot of ups and downs in our markets.
I'm going to go even farther out on you, and I know you don't have a crystal ball. You probably wish you do some days. What's your thoughts as farmers get closer to harvest? What should we be looking to do, and maybe some different opportunities there?
Well, of course, being this far out, I always think you have a ton of variables, right, with early harvest, late harvest, things like that. So for the folks that, have a good handle on their crop once they kind of get through pollination and things like that, be weighing on your buyer and things like that and looking for any type of basis moves or, that stuff if you think you have some early bushels or things like that, and watch any of those, maybe let's say early harvest discounts when places offer drying discounts and things like that to get kind of corn moving across the door. Ohio's bushels were down a little bit last year when it comes to corn, so we still have easy to stay on the calendar 4 months to harvest. So that's a good bit of usage for end users to get there. Any type of things we get type of futures upsides, right? Don't be scared I'm always a fan of selling into a rally. December futures start going back up and we know that we're covering costs and things like that. Don't be afraid to go out there and take some risk off the table. Again, like I mentioned, volatility is one of those things. And if the rest of the corn belt got its corn in time, we know how those can play out. We still have a pretty good sizable carryout number. And a lot of things can happen between now and then and people buying and stuff like that. But, South American harvest will be right around your corner again and things like that. So I think the world has a plentiful corn supply. So it's something to be worrisome of.
Again, my guest has been Matt McCall with the Andersons. Thank you for your time today. I'm Joe Everett for the Ohio AgNet reporting.
Thank you, Joe. We'll get a check of the markets and analysis next here on the Ohio AgNet.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins, and today's market analysis is brought to you by Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to bring a brand new soybean crush facility to Upper Sandusky. Learn more about marketing your soybeans with LDC at 574-566-2113. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets were mixed yesterday. When we got to the close, wheat was down double digits in Chicago, 8 and 9 cents in Kansas City, and down about 8 to 10 cents in Minneapolis. Corn was down 4 to 5 after trying to be steady for a bit, and the bean market gave up a lot of its gains. Now, a new crop was still a couple pennies higher, but it was a disappointing day overall. As we take a look at these stories, the beans tried to firm on U.S. product demand, but honestly, that ran out of gas very, very quickly. Traders also not really super excited about the next moves based on any kind of U.S. or Iran peace deal. Crude oil was down over $4 a barrel yesterday, especially in the midday and afternoon hours. That led to a little surprise on the soy and soy oil strength, but still not really enough to get new positions into the market yesterday. Stay the course. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. Overnight numbers on the Ohio AgNet brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. Corn lower by a half cent to 3/4. The beans gaining a penny and a half to 2 1/4, and wheat down by 4 cents across the board. Get more of today's farm news, markets, and weather Taylor at ohioagnet.com. I'm Ty Higgins. We'll see you down the road.